everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to do a TBR check-in and a book haul for the month of April. So I read 15 books total in the month of April, which is tremendous. I'm sure being at home for the whole month had nothing to do with that total. And of that total of 15 books, 11 were fiction and 4 were nonfiction, and 3 of the fiction were BookTube prize books. And then they're just a mix of a bunch of other things. So I did have an excellent reading month in the end, even though, as the stay-at-home stuff all was happening, I was finding it hard to concentrate. By the middle of April, I had gotten my groove on, and I was back into the swing of things with my reading, and I continue to be very, very much excited about what I'm reading and getting a lot of reading done. So I wanted to go over my TBR balance sheet with you. I've been tracking how many books I bring in, how many books I read off this shelf and my nonfiction TBR shelf, which is out in the other room. And I have this little tracking sheet in my, got stuff falling out, stickers falling out everywhere on camera. So I have this balance sheet that I cribbed from Doris over at Alta Books, and you can see the months down the side of the page. And so for the month of April, I read 5 books off my physical shelves. I brought in 6 books, not good. I didn't unhaul any, so that is a +1 for me for the month. So that brings my balance on my physical TBR up to 148, and it was at 147. It had been at 147 all the first quarter of the year. So the first 3 months of the year, I had managed to keep things even, but I went up +1 in April. But honestly, that doesn't feel like seriously bad to me, because some of the books that I ended up purchasing that I will be showing you here in April are books that I'm currently reading now in May. So those will be coming off hopefully by the end of this month. And so let's just look at what I did bring in to add to my physical TBR in the month of April. I will say that I've already read one of those books. That is Measuring the World by Daniel Kehlmann. You will have seen me talk about this book in my last recent and current reads. This is a work of translated work from the German, and the translator is, let me just flip to it. It's translated from the German by Carol Brown Janeway. And I buddy read this with Britta Bowler last month and very much enjoyed it. So that one's already gone. And I am currently buddy reading The Splendid and the Vile by Erik Larson with Doris and Patrice and Karen. And this is a work of nonfiction. You'll remember in one of my vlogs in April, I talked about this book because I received this as a gift from Betsy. So thank you very much again, Betsy. And I have started this buddy read. I've read part 1. And this nonfiction book is all about Winston Churchill and his first year of being Prime Minister of Great Britain. And it is a huge chunker of a book. I can't even remember how many pages, not including the notes. The text itself is about 500 pages. So, but this, you guys know I love Erik Larson, and the ladies that I'm buddy reading this with, we've kind of formed a group to sort of read through Erik Larson's stuff because we all enjoy him so much. And this book is so good so far. The first part is blowing me away already. Winston Churchill is quite a character, and I will tell you I had read nothing about Winston Churchill before I picked this book up. So I did not come into this book with very much knowledge or information. Basically, I had an image in my mind of Winston Churchill as sort of this short, stocky guy who always wore a hat and smoked a cigar. And that was the extent of my knowledge about Winston Churchill. And I mean, I knew he made a bunch of famous speeches that have been quoted for a long time. But other than that, I didn't know anything. And already I am super compelled by what Larson is putting together, not only about Churchill, but the people in his inner circle, his closest advisors, his wife, the other people in British political life at this time when everything was falling apart. America had not yet entered World War II. France was basically getting run over by the Germans, and Churchill takes over Britain, basically running the government for Great Britain at the time when everybody thinks there's no way they can win the war. And so super great so far. Very much looking forward to continuing on with that read. So then I also picked up 2 books that I will be reading this month. One is The Story of More, How We Got to Climate Change and Where to Go From Here by Hope Jaron. You guys know how much I love Lab Girl by Hope Jaron. This is another nonfiction book by her, all about climate change, as it says on the cover. I am reading this for Springathon, and I'm very, very, very much looking forward to this because I love Hope Jaron so much. And then I will also be reading A Woman Is No Man by Ataf Room. And I am reading this for the BookTube Prize. This is one of the books in my group for this month. For this round. And so I have to finish this month. So that one will also be read. And that just leaves 2 more. Both of which I got from my mom. My mom has been doing some, spring cleaning and going through her bookshelves. And these 2 books were on her shelves. She didn't want them anymore. And so they came into my life. The first one is this book, Remarkable Creatures by Tracy Chevalier. She wrote A Girl with a Pearl Earring, which I read many years ago and enjoyed. And this book is about a female fossil hunter in Britain I'm not sure when, but back in ye old times when hunting for fossils was like a thing that people did. And she, of course, defies convention. She's very different. And I've been wanting to read this book for quite a while. So when I saw it is one of the books that my mom was not interested in keeping anymore, I snatched it up. And also Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. I have read a bunch of John Steinbeck's novels. I have not yet read this one. I love this cover with the frogs on top. And this is one that I have really, really been wanting to get to. I love this quote on the back. Cannery Row in Monterey in California is a poem, a stink, a grating noise, a quality of light, a tone, a habit, a nostalgia, a dream. So that sounds really, really interesting. This was first published in 1945, and it's all about community and the loneliness of the individual. So we'll see. But it is one of the Steinbecks I have not yet read, and I'm very much looking forward to that as well. So then the only other thing that I want to make sure that I document for the month of April is a book that came into my home as a gift. This is Gravy by our own Patrice Jones. Patrice has published a work of her poetry, and she very kindly gifted me with this paperback copy of her poems. I have already read these poems, and I absolutely love them. I love this cover, as Lindsay pointed out on her channel. These photos of Gravy and like turkey dinner make me hungry. And this collection of poems by Patrice is very much accessible poetry. If you are like me and you struggle sometimes with poetry because the language feels inaccessible and you feel like you're not smart enough and you're not well-read enough or literary minded enough to like grasp whatever the poet is trying to get at, I will tell you that this collection may fit your bill very well. Patrice is very much talking about everyday feelings and emotions and things that happen to regular people in their regular lives. And I connected with it very strongly. Many of these poems are about family life, they're about love, they're about the relationship between children and their parents or children and their grandparents. Those are all very resonant. There's lots of great poems about food that are really fun. That's the other thing about this collection. Like, not all the poems are serious. Some are very funny, and a lot of them have a really great rhythm to them. And so I really enjoyed reading through this collection. I am super impressed that Patrice has published a book of poetry, and I would love for you all to go out and check this out. This is available online, and I will leave a link to it down below if you want to check it out. Okay, so that is the summary of what I sent out of my house and what I brought into my house in the month of April. I feel like it was a fairly good job I did in April. I didn't overwhelm myself with too many books. Let's see how I do in May, and I will catch you up at the end of the month. I hope everybody's found a good book to read, and I'll talk to you later.